So, Karla, thank you so much for talking to us. I know you're a very busy person there in Mexico City, but this is kind of exciting here. I know that obviously you're from El Paso, and I know that America Ferrera is married to Ryan Williams, who's from El Paso. But
Right?
talk to me about how this shoot comes together, how this beautiful cover shoot comes together. Give me the backstory.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of the backstory because it's interesting. We obviously love to shoot in locations, and El Paso has some amazing locations from White Sands to Marfa to, the mountains, but it's not always easy for us to shoot there because the talent doesn't want to, take a connecting flight or usually like travel somewhere where they don't have another project pending. So I met America after being kind of Instagram friends in Milan this summer. And she said, I'm going to be in El Paso for a month this summer because my husband, we just bought a house and my kids love spending time with their grandmother. And I was like, that's funny. The same. My kids are the same. They love going to El Paso and they love, that summer heat doesn't bother them.
Right.
So I said, she asked me, we originally had a team ready to go in New York and a studio. And she's like, why are we shooting in New York? And I said, well, that's what your team gave us. And she's like, I'd love to come to Mexico or I'm going to be in El Paso. What can we do? And I said, why don't we shoot in El Paso? Because we shoot a lot here in Mexico City. And I asked, and her publicist said yes, and she said yes. And the team was like, yeah, we'd love to go to El Paso. So we got everyone down there and, we had a local crew that supported us, the team from Visit El Paso and, friends of mine, Mariana Cantu and Fabio Ordóñez, who helped with production. We had, the person that assisted with photos. And it was just such a fun day because, America was there on her vacation, on her month off, which I thought was so nice that she gave us a day. Ryan came to the house and it kind of all came together. I was looking for a mid-century modern house. And Ryan McNellis said, of course you can shoot at my house. And everything was so easy, I have to say, with El Paso, I think we're known to be a very friendly community. And we saw exactly that. I mean, we went, we scouted a few different locations and Emmanuel, the photographer, had never been to El Paso and he was so excited to be there. And we went to go scout the different murals. So we did a combination of Ryan's home on the mountain and some of the beautiful murals in the Segundo Barrio.
Yeah, I mean the photos are remarkable. The shoot is gorgeous, and Ryan's house is very beautiful. And then it's cool because again, I think the El Paso is often in the national limelight, often tied to immigration or controversial topics, but it's also important to put it in this light, don't you think?
Yes,
Yeah, explain that. Explain what
absolutely.
that means for you.
It's interesting because right now that you mentioned that, when I first arrived at Vogue Mexico, it was like 2017 or 2016. It was, there was a lot of negativity around Mexico. We only had drug dealers, we only had criminals, there was such like a bad stigma around Mexico. And I was like, you know what? It is our responsibility to change that. And so when I was thinking about doing this issue, we wanted to, say it's like without borders, no sin fronteras, and what that means, and highlight, all of the amazing things that happen on the border that people don't talk about, right? Like the exchange of ideas, people going back and forth, having friendships growing up with girls from Juarez that would cross the border, at 6 a.m, back when the time used to change, remember when it would change Juarez and not in El Paso. And I think, having lived in New York and having so many friends from the El Paso Juarez area, so many talented friends that worked in creative fields, I really wanted to show that. And I really wanted to show that, change the narrative around, oh, I went to El Paso on my way from LA to Marfa, or I flew into El Paso. There's a reason to stay in El Paso, to visit El Paso. And, from something like the Coldplay concert where they brought so many different people, that it's really interesting that it's really like a crossing point for so many, and has been for so many years. And this, in January, I went to Leo Villarreal's new installation at the Museum of El Paso Museum of Art. The Mexican American Cultural Center has recently opened. There's a thriving art scene. There's an amazing food scene, as from everything from tacotote to elemi to taconeta. I
Yeah.
think we're much more than a passerby city, you could say.
Right.
And I recently read a book called The Passing by an author, an El Paso author, um, Richard. I'm blanking on his last name right now, but I'll get it. Um, and he recently passed away, unfortunately. And Richard
Oh,
Parker,
yeah, yeah.
Richard
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
that I was suggested at Literarity. And El Paso is a city that since the discovery in quotes of America has been a focal point for so many different cultures. I was telling my husband and a friend, it was like to Madrid, El Paso was one of the most important cities in the late 1400s because it was where everything was happening, where cultures kind of united and met. And so to me, to talk about something different than the immigration crisis or an awful detention center that's being built there I think this was the perfect chance to do that. And, we even got a very rainy season, so it looked even more beautiful
Yeah. Yeah.
and not dry.
Right.
Uh, so I feel like and America was so excited to do that, to do it as well, because, our kids love going to this city that's so far removed from, where she films in Los Angeles or London. And I think I always say that all of the things that I wished El Paso had when I was growing up, like, um, a huge Nordstrom store or like a Houston's restaurant. I now think that we didn't have because I think it created this very vibrant culture of local restaurants and local ideas that I think are finally starting to see, the limelight.
Yeah, and I mean, we're very glad that you're out there and you're so successful on such a, huge stage there at Vogue Mexico, and that you continue to shine the light on the positives. That's very important. And again, going back to America, what a great situation, right? Where she wanted to do it because it is her husband's hometown. Ryan
Yeah.
Williams. I've
And
known Ryan from back when he was in high school. So like,
oh,
yeah,
I did not know him because he's from the East Side. I think he's a couple years older than me.
yeah.
And, I think she was saying, America was saying that her children love to be there. And my girls love El Paso. We always take them on a vacation after they go to El Paso for a month. And they always say El Paso's number one. So that makes me happy. And I feel like, just to be able to show that. We also have an amazing guide that Fabiola Ordóñez and Gonzalo Diaz, who now lives in North Carolina, did for us, just highlighting, all the new restaurants that are opening up, all the new little coffee shops. We even went to Waco Tanks, which I'm embarrassed to say I'd never been.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
And it's, hundreds, I mean, it dates back to like prehistoric days, which is
Right.
something we don't know about. I think one of the things that I learned in Richard's book also is that, you always think of kind of the first Thanksgiving to be, it's such an East Coast centric idea, that we grow up thinking. And, there was a whole thriving community in, uh, uh, you know, 200 years before that,
Yeah,
right?
pre-Columbian, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In El Paso. And
Yeah.
that's El Paso, Juarez, Las Cruces, right?
That's right. That's right. One community with a borderland, and we're proud to have had. We're proud that you're a native of the borderland, Karla. So thank you so much for making time. I'll let you go here because I know you're busy, and
Thank you so much. And I'm glad if you need any images from us, let us know.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, we're really happy with the result. And I think the images show this kind of empowered Latina that America is. And um, the movie looks I think it's on Apple, The Lost Bus, that's coming out.
yeah.
So don't, I think it's like a very much a thriller. So
She's fantastic. Her career has been incredible, right? And then the fact that she was in the Barbie movie and that Ryan had a small part in the Barbie movie together,
yeah,
that was really cool. Pretty cool.
amazing.
So yeah, so happy for the two of them. So happy for you and all your success. Thank you again for making time.
Thank you so much. Speak soon.
Talk
Bye.
soon. Bye bye.